Okay, guys. You see, you guys are having so much fun, you don't even want to stop. They're over here clapping, they're exchanging information, and you guys don't even want to stop talking. Now you know someone. Do you see what happened? It was 2 minutes. It was less than 2 minutes. But if you gave people 5 minutes to do that and say find 3 things or 2 things, all of a sudden they're going to be going, hey, and they're going to reach out because they shared information, and they're going to say, hey, are you going to be at the next meeting? I'd love to meet up with you and go to lunch with you, or just to be there. So it creates that, a lot of times when associations we work with, they do little meetings like, weekly or monthly or quarterly meetings. It connects them. It makes them want to come because now they've really got to know somebody. And now when you're wandering out there in the exhibit hall and you bump into someone, you go, oh yeah. We did this at one association and they asked the origin of your name. What was the origin of your name? So that's a good one to ask. How did you come up with your name? My dad wanted to call me an angel, and then I came out with fire red hair, and he was like, not happening. So he never did call me an angel. He called me his pumpkin. But that kind of is, the way you connect, and that you can get your associations, people to connect more. Okay, next. Understanding your audience. We all are seeking that connection and safety. When we let down our professional walls, like we just did, you get to know one another. It's real. We become real people. We become people that have cancer or have, kids that are driving us nuts or have aging parents. It makes a real strong professional connection. So you're just not connecting by your CPAs, or you are some kind of association of event planners or something. And it gets you down to a fine line with your attendees. Another way to help you identify your demographics and your interests of your association members is to create membership profiles. So a membership profile, it could be just your name, and most people have name, email, address, kind of a thing in their title. But, okay, do you have ADA issues? Do you have, or not issues, but do you have ADA? Do you want to be called he or she, or, what is your identity? Are you into, you could ask your favorite place to vacation. There's lots of questions you can ask in the event or their profile, and it helps you understand. But you can also ask in membership profiles. A good thing to ask is, what education are you looking for? Are you looking to get a certificate? Are you looking to get this? Or are you an expert? So a SME, a subject matter expert. A SME is just that. They're a subject matter expert. I'm an expert at event planning, so I get asked a lot of times to do stuff like this. So you could say, oh, this person is a subject matter expert in this, and this person is looking to learn this. Let's connect them in our association. So that is a good way to use your membership profile. You can also collect data during registration to understand the demographic makeup of attendees and their interests in specific topics. Since many of you have repeat attendees at your associations, you can use this information for future events. On a side note, having this information can also help your sponsorship budget. So that's what we're all looking at, is how do we get more money? Is finding vendor partners that fit the need of what your members are looking for and interested in. Maybe you have a large population of members that are older, and they have, or they're dealing with senior parent issues. So maybe a pre-event you have, it's before the conference starts or before your sessions start, you have a pre-event that is sponsored by a vendor, they're paying for it, and it's about senior care. And it's kind of going into that personal side, but because we all have it. We all have to deal with kids, parents, everything. So think about that with your sponsorships before you, for the sessions that are beforehand. So let's talk about registration. Y'all went through registration today. It was super simple. Simplifying your registration process minimizes barriers for your attendees. The number one issue we hear about with clients is how long it takes. If it takes a long time, they're not happy. 60 seconds, it's not long. 60 seconds is how long the professional industry says you should have registration. Now, if you're an association, you don't have large budgets. You don't have budgets to have, all this IT stuff, which, okay, what was your company name? Sugo. I bet you they could help us with that. It sounded like it was DIY. I kind of like that. That ticked me off. I was like, oh, that's kind of nice. So one way to help with your registration, overstaff it. If you think you have enough, you don't have enough. Overstaff it. More. Linda sees it all the time because she's at a convention center.
I do.
Yep, she sees it all the time.
Am I on here?
Yeah,
Can
you
you
are.
hear me? I see it a lot. And one of the things, one of the organizations, I'm an elected official, and I belong to an association of Washington cities. And I go to their conference every year. The thing I appreciated about the most is that when I walk into that room, before I even get to the registration table, somebody is greeting me. They're asking me what they can do for me, and then they're escorting me on. And then I get to the registration table. They help me, and then there's someone else there to help me pick up my brochures and things and get my meeting schedule, everything I need. I got to tell you, they are so warm and inviting that year after year, I feel like I'm coming home. I feel like family. And that's a really important thing you can do for your members. So if you don't have enough staff to do it, get some volunteers, but staff up that registration.
Yeah, and a good thing to do with your registration is have notes. We call them host notes with our clients, but they are, I have a pre-meeting the night before or the morning, and I go, okay, who's standing at the elevators and who's here, and here's your notes, and I hand them their notes, and then I read through them. I go, okay, here's where the bathrooms are, over here, because everyone's going to ask you where they're at, and here is where, if they are, coming for this session, and it's it's a CRE sessions, and they need to go that direction. If they're going over here, they need to register over here. I tell them that, and then the people that are at the registration, they're going to say, well, someone's going to ask me this. And if they ask a question you can't answer, you're going to say, great question, I can't answer that. That table over there, and then they go over there. But when they're done, you just come straight to the front line, and I'll take care of you. So you have to really prep your people. Think of all the questions and help them answer them beforehand. But have staff. If you don't have enough, I'm just going to tell you, staff. So one thing we're seeing out is breaking out registration. I love this idea. I'm going to start implementing it in a lot more of my vendors. We did it with one client, and I was like, okay, we're doing it again. Color code the lanyard. Who's been to a conference where there's more than just one kind of attendee, like event planner? Yeah. So I've been to the wedding MBA, which is down in, because we do weddings too, our company does, down in Vegas. Planners had orange. Photographers had blue. And they had a little list. It actually was on the back of I think one of them I think we stuck it on the back. And DJs were black, and AV people were this, and rental companies were this, and venues were this, and florists were pink. I remember that. Everyone had a different. So when you're doing like an expo with your association, you're going to have vendors and attendees. And if you are an attendee and you're standing there wanting to talk to this vendor, but there's somebody standing in front of you, and they're another vendor, and they're just there taking up the time of that person, I'm standing there wanting to talk, and I'm like, okay, I'll go off to the next one because this person's taking up their time. But the vendor that's sitting there is going, oh, was she, I don't know who she was. He has no idea. But if the vendor's standing there, let's say you're at it's your table, you're Swoop. Is that right? Swugo. Okay, I'm Swugo. So let's say I'm Swugo, and she's able to see, I'm a vendor, I'm an attendee. I'm not a vendor. Vendor's orange. Attendees are green. So she can see I'm an attendee. She is going to, I can tell you what she's going to do. She's going to push that person off the side and say, excuse me, hi, come over here. That's what I would do in a second. So, that's one thing to do. It's an easy thing to do, is to change that color of that lanyard. and it's sponsored by somebody. So, that's the best thing. So that is an inexpensive way to do something for your attendees. Then you can move from, so you have that at registration. They clip on, you say, pick up your lanyard. They pick up their lanyard, and they say, I'm Angela Strecker, and then they hand me my badge. I clip my badge on myself as that person's pulling out all the other information for me. Hey, could you fill out your membership form? I noticed you didn't have it, and they have it. So if you're using them, you could do it on, I can never remember your name, sorry. But if you're not able to, you could print it. I mean, if you're on a budget, you could print it and hand it to them and say, you get a drink ticket if you bring it back. That always helps. So that's like the first station. Then the second station might be, if you just have simple station, the second station might be your registration bag, the goodie bag with the agenda. And you always want that last. So if you need to add something else in the middle, you're going to add it before you give them their agenda, because they all want that agenda. And I've seen people jump to the agenda line, grab their agenda, and off they go, and they haven't gotten their badge or registration. And so, but if you had talked to your registration people, you'd say, no badge, no agenda, because, that's what you want. So that's a good way to kind of add different stations, and you could just use the stanchions and kind of flow people through it. Best way to do it. Let's see. Consider installing a photo booth beforehand. You see that a lot here. They have like balloons out there, and you could have done like today when we registered, you came in, there's balloons. Consider having a photo booth or something that is a keepsake for them that you can also use as media. So when you do a photo booth, they're not expensive. They're pretty inexpensive. You can hire a local photographer to help with it, and you could have all the digital photos. Now all of a sudden, you've got social media, and people look like, oh my gosh, I missed out. That's what you want. You want to grab their attention at the beginning. But what doing a photo booth also does, or some kind of interaction, we also do coffee stations. Free coffee, come early. I think you all should have gotten an email, said, hey, there's coffee. Make sure you're register early. There's coffee here, free coffee. People love coffee in the Northwest. So we always try and have something because it causes people to start networking before they've even entered the room. So you want that, hey, come get in photos. And usually you can have a great photographer doing that for you. Think about doing registration differently. Okay, so we do a lot of farmers because we got Wenatchee. We do a lot of farmer stuff. So think about check-in is Apple Grove check-in, cherry picking gift bag station, and the vineyard beverage ticket station. And you have them decorated like that. It causes people to go, oh, you know who we are. We're farmers, we're growers, or CPAs. You could have the calculator station, you could have all these different stations. So you have to kind of think a little bit outside the box. Make it so that it doesn't feel like just the next summit or conference that you're going to, that it's a little bit different for everyone. One thing that we're going to start trying to do is like the gift bags that we give to people are going to be a little bit more specialized, like tax season special or survival kits that have stress balls, energy snacks, and mini calculators. A little bit more focused on who they are as attendees, not just plain old everything's the same. I talked about having espresso bar starting an hour before. We started this last year, and people were thrilled, absolutely thrilled with it. They were hyped on the bean, and it was wonderful. And that's what you have to think about. And it's a great way to get a sponsor in for sponsors. Somebody sponsors the coffee, and all we did was we had the sleeves made. I think I had 300 sleeves made, or maybe it was like $300. It was super inexpensive to have the sleeve made for the coffee cups. Gave them to the vendor. It was a mobile truck that we brought in, and everyone walked around with that coffee sleeve, and they were excited, and they paid, and we made a lot of money on them, or the client did. So introducing interactive ideas like this for a registration or for your pre-event is vital. It really sets the tone for everyone going forward. And because people, especially with the coffee, they'll go, "Oh, you got coffee? Where'd you get that?" So I'm going to talk a little bit. I know Linda will talk pretty soon.
It's okay.
And I probably am talking too fast, but so I'm going to talk a little bit about sessions and workshops. So first I'm going to ask, how many of you are association people or manage the sessions and that kind of stuff? How many of you are association members or something? Yeah, okay. So offering hands-on workshops and encouraging active participation. This is something I learned from my corporate planning years when I worked for this enormous bank. We did this all over the country. We started it in Washington, and then I ended up doing it all over the country. We called them. They were facilitated. We just called them workshops, but they were very focused on a product. So what would happen was we would have companies or somebody, the association would be talking about a topic, but we would bring a peer. So if you're event planners and you want to hear from somebody, you bring up a peer of event planners or CPAs. So let's just take CPAs, for example. All the CPAs were up, there was like 4 CPAs up there, and they were peers of the people sitting in the audience. And the facilitator was my company, okay? And we were trying to sell a product that they were all using, and they talked about their grievances, their successes. They really spoke to the people that were there because they were peers. So having peers up on the stage gives you more credibility for your association. So consider having that, but also what it did was it caused the peers that were sitting in the association going, I'm going to start using that product, that timekeeping product, and next year I want to be a speaker. I want to be up on that. I want to be on that team. And so we would let them. But that's also where we used in their member profile card, we would say, what are you interested in speaking on? Would you be interested in speaking on something? And would you be interested in being on a panel for it? Maybe it's on safety issues or something like that. So that's something to consider also when you're doing speaking topics. Something we're also seeing that's been new, we've seen a lot of this lately, is lightning talks. Has anyone started doing that? They're short, high-energy lightning talks that are like 5 to 10 minutes. Anyone been to a session that's been like that? Yeah, so it's really fascinating because they bring up 4 or 5 different people that all have the same topic, but they all do it differently. And then they speak for 5 or 10 minutes on that topic, and they narrow it down. And when we do this, we do it for like an HR company, and so one will talk like on gaining employees, and one will talk about timekeeping, and one will talk about this. And it's quick and fast, and those people love it. Everyone is, and they become like this subject matter expert, and people love it. So that's something to consider when you're talking about your sessions, is mix up, just having talking heads like us up here, mix up and have somebody doing this because people are fascinated by it. Also, we're going to talk about diversity. Diversifying session formats to cater to different learning preferences. You got the words here. So if somebody is hard of hearing, like Linda, very hard of hearing, just going to admit it, she can hardly hear me half the time. I'm always having to yell at her. They're able to see it. So this is great option here. Or, if somebody needs handicap. I've been to a venue, there was no elevator to the second floor, and they had planned on having people on the second floor, and I was like, I don't think you can do that legally. I'm not doing that. So think about that. Think about having demonstrations. So if you're trying to sell like an HR, if somebody's trying to sell like a product or trying to use a product, think about having a live demonstration up there on how to use this product so that you understand how to do it. So that leads us to Miss Linda.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm actively, as an elected official, actively involved in the homeless situation in our city. And actually, I chair our homeless task force. And one of the things that we were having problems with and getting a lot of complaints from our constituents were the RVs parked around our city. It's a problem, and it's really a nightmare because they collect their junk, and next thing you know, they're taking up the entire block. So again, I'm going to refer to AWC. I went to their conference. One of the breakouts was on homeless. Went to it. They put us on a bus. They took us out to a safe park. This was where people who were living in their RVs could park. They provided them with restrooms, with showers, places to do their laundry, and they even gave them food. Greatest session I ever attended. I took it back, set up a meeting with the mayor of Vancouver and my mayor and our city administrator and our community development director, and within 2 weeks we had a safe park. And 30 days later, we had a second one. It really took care of the problem. That was the greatest learning experience I've ever had because that was a solution I was looking for. So your sessions, be aware of what your members are looking for, what they want to learn, what they're dealing with, what is really important to them, and set your agenda to take care of that. Another group I had that came in, they rotate all over the state, but when they're in a community, they like to do some volunteer service. They came to me and said, we want to set up some kind of volunteer event. So I called the city, and the city said, well, we need help with our parks because we just had a big windstorm and it blew down all of the trees, and they needed help cleaning them up. So there's a group of about 300 people went out there and volunteered and cleaned up the parks. They learned so much. They had a great bonding experience. They were networking. They had fun. They created a lot of camaraderie and a lot of team effort. So it was a great event.
Yeah, yeah. And that goes into just how you guys, now you have a connection. So next time you go somewhere, you're going, oh, remember when we cut down that tree? Or so.
Yeah.
I mean, I have corporate clients that are talking about they broke their fingers at playing dodgeball, but that's good. So let's talk about, still on the workshops and sessions, is tracking. How do you know exactly which sessions are the most popular? So when you are planning an event, it's always good to have somebody with clicker or on phone, have a number, how many people are in this room, how many people are out in the lobby, how many people are downstairs in the other room, so that you can understand. It's very passive. It's not making you sign, like today we did that had to, but not everyone does it. So it's very passive. It's just counting. And what it creates is it helps you with next year, because you got to be thinking next year and the year next year. So we had an association conference, and the first year we did it, I noticed this room with these attorneys. It was an HR class, and I was like, okay. It was attorneys, and it was packed. Like, it was at Linda's Conference Center, and it was a room probably for 50. I think I had 80 or 90 people in there standing. It was crazy. So the next year I said, okay, so because we counted, and we were like, everyone was in there. And so the next year I moved into a bigger room. And then the next year I said, bag it. You're staying in the general session with 300 people because there's too many people. But because I could see that growth every year, I go, you are not getting rid of this session ever. We will get rid of other sessions that we're noticing are dropping down because everyone was attending this session. So you have to be aware of that. And what that causes is you need to be aware of your venue. Can your venue hold, oh, yeah, we got breakouts, but can it hold a breakout where I need 4 breakouts that fit over 400 people, 100 people each? That's kind of what you have to think about. Before you select your venue, you need to know those numbers. So that brings us to our venue topic.
Yeah. Knowing the footprint of the venue that you're using is probably the most important thing. And I, as a salesperson of a venue, I want you to come out and see that my convention center. I want you to understand its strengths, its weaknesses, and I want to help you design an event that is going to fulfill your members. You need to make sure that when you're working with your event staff is that they really understand your mission, your purpose, what educational opportunities you want to provide for your members during this conference so that they can work with you to assign the best way. I like to take them in and say, okay, you're having this session, this is what the room is going to look like, and we're standing there and we're visualizing it so that when you go back to your office and you're planning out this event, oh yeah, that'll work perfect in that Blossom room. So make sure you do that. The other thing I like to do when I'm working with a conference planner is I like to get them over to Wenatchee to see what we have to offer. I don't think anyone wants to spend 3 meals a day in a block room. I don't think they do. I think they want to get out, they want to experience the culture, they want to see your city, they want to have a good time. And people are looking for experiential opportunities. So when I'm doing a site inspection, it doesn't include just the building, it doesn't include just the hotels. It includes all of the venues that we have or attractions that we have so that you can design events that your members are going to be really excited about. We've done things at our Pybus Market where we have receptions. The room opens up, it's about this size, and it opens up out over to the river. You're right there on the patio. You have a great event overlooking the venue. It's a lot of fun. Other things we've done, huge receptions and dinners up at Omi Gardens. We've taken groups out to orchards and had a hoedown. We've done barbecues at the park, anything to get them out of the building and get them networking and socializing and connecting. You need to explore non-traditional venues such as museums, art galleries, outdoor spaces, anything that will add a unique and memorable element to your conference. And people remember that, and they come back year after year because they know they're going to get something different and they're going to enjoy it. Also, make sure you include all of your vendors. Some of the things that we do is when you're when you're setting up your vendor show, know if you want to put them all in one room together where you can have their breaks and their receptions and such, or do you want to put them in the aisles in the lobby space where people will connect from one breakout to another. That's always an and make sure you can include them in your planning. And once we know all of this, as a sales staff, we can offer suggestions for ideas. And if you need transportation, if you're going to an off-site venue, we can help you with that. Our CVP can help you with that as well.
Yeah, we like to use things like Top Golf, I think they're in Bellevue or something, We like to use stuff like that as off-site kind of things. Museums, think about your museums. Think about all those different kinds of places that you can take them to go do maybe a networking time or anything like that. So, someone's calling me. Isn't that nice of them? So let's see, where are we at here? Okay, I think we're going to talk about diversity now, Missy. Linda's got diversity down.
This is where I really need to use my notes because this is very important. I'm very passionate about it. Both Angela and I belong to the Washington Society for Association Executive, and I sit on their DEI committee. And this has been really important to me because I have a lot of people in my life and in my family that are very diverse. They're, gay, LGBTQ, all of that, and they have faced a lot of discrimination, a lot of racism. So you want to ensure representation and inclusivity across your speakers, your panelists, and the topics that you're presenting to promote diversity of thought and create a welcoming environment so everyone feels included. Adding diversity into your conference agenda involves incorporating a variety of perspectives, voices, and topics that reflect the diverse backgrounds of your members and interests of your members. And I'm going to give you some strategies to achieve this. When WSA first started their DEI committee, we didn't know what we were doing. How do we accomplish this? And we were all just very, very insecure about it. Fortunately, they brought in a consultant for us who worked with us for about 6 months. And there were moments of real pain. There were moments of a lot of tears, a lot of discomfort. It's not easy. So when you're talking about diversity, use your member profiles. That should help you know who your members are that are of different ethnicity or gender association. Know their ages, know their professional services. Ensure that your lineup represents a large range of perspectives and expertise relevant to your convention theme. And this should always be part of your business plan as well. So, and the other thing I found really important is we have one conference that comes every 3 years. They're farmers. It's about 1,800 people, and it's kind of a flow-through situation. They have both English and Spanish sessions because most of their members, or a large percentage of their members, do not speak English. So it's, or if they do speak English, they don't understand it well enough to sit in a session and get full benefits. So they provide that. Consider doing that. The other thing, I have an organization I work with, and they're providing a person to stand up front and sign because they have several deaf members, and they're doing that. You need to ensure all of your attendees can fully participate and engage with the conference. And also, Angela referred to this about the hearing. Make sure Make sure your facility is ADA compliant. That's really, really important. I have bad knees, so that's important to me. The other thing is our facility has these little panels in the corners, and if your speaker is using a microphone like I am, I, as a hearing impaired person, can sit in the back of the room or the front of the room and wear a headset, and I will hear very clearly what he is saying. And you should always ask for that. And by implementing these strategies, you can create a conference agenda that celebrates diversity, fosters inclusion, and provides valuable learning and networking opportunities for all of your conference attendees. So I'm going to give you 5 tips for developing goals along the DEI journey. And this came from the Harvard Business Review. If you are wanting more information on DEI, go to the WSE website. It's WSEnet.org. And under Resources tab, there is a toolkit for DEI, and it's very, very helpful. So, one of the things you need to do is understand the state of the DEI maturity within your organization. Are they aware of it? Are they compliant? Are they tactical? Are they integrated? Or are they sustainable? And by identifying your maturity stage as an association, you can set effective and impactful DEI goals that will help you achieve your goals. So I've got 5 tips to utilize as you begin your DEI journey. Tip number 1, understand the why. This is really important. Doing this work to say you did it will not create a culture of care, and that's the most important thing you want to do. You need to be thoughtful when you're starting. You need to reflect on your organization's experiences and biases, and what instances of policies have an undesired detriment effect on a specific group of people. Consider the best way to acknowledge any past issues and learn and grow from it. We all make mistakes. The big mistake is when we don't learn from our mistakes. Are there underrepresented groups within your organization? Do you have a segment of organization of people that is not being recognized as far as awards or being included in various activities? Take a look at that. Believe it or not, we all say, no, I wouldn't do that, but it's not intentional, it happens. And look at your procedures that you have in place, like the requirements for an application, and find out why they are done that way and why. Tip number 2, you need to gather the right people. We started out, and at one point we found we were 4 white, straight women on the committee, and we needed other voices because we needed to hear their experiences. We needed to hear their opinions. We all have our own viewpoint through thought processes and goals in mind when it comes to DEI, but we need to be aware of everyone's thoughts. Be thoughtful. What voices are missing from your committee? And also, the most important thing, tip number 3, get comfortable with discomfort. This is not going to be comfortable at all, and it's something we need to do. There will be moments of discomfort among team members when discussing DEI strategies and tactics. and to alleviate any friction when bringing your group together. Start by acknowledging that. Let them know that we understand that this is going to be uncomfortable, but we are coming from a place of care. And I think that's really, really important. Encourage people to speak up and share, and include everyone in the decision-making process. And look at your activities and procedures in place and question them why they are the way they are. And to alleviate any friction when bringing your team together, start your meetings by acknowledging that there may be some discomfort and reminding participants that everyone is coming from a good place. In addition, encourage everyone to be open, vulnerable, and trusting. And that was the hard part, because being on this committee, we all had a fear that we were going to be judged because of experience or been through. It's can be very emotional, can be very hard. Tip number 4, review your organization. Understand where your organization is important to set your goals. And ultimately, you want to understand your organization and understand your members to help your association successfully implement a DEI strategy. And finally, tip number 5, communicate transparency. When people engage in DEI, they have expectations. You need to be realistic about what you can achieve. You need to be honest about your failures, and it will happen. And also communicate your successes. Make sure your members know that. And regular communicating with your members keeps people involved and ultimately moving forward. So consider, do you have training opportunities within your organization to address all behaviors from outright racism to unconscious bias? That's really important. Invite your members to share what makes them feel safe. Invite them to share their ideas. Assess your culture and collect feedback and make improvements. Here are the 3 P's to get started in creating an inclusive environment. Number 1, policies. Examine your current policies and add anti-discrimination, harassment, and microaggression to them. Ensure these are procedures to address and handle issues. Embrace and strengthen diversity and educate others. People and partnerships. Create opportunities for special interests and resource groups to meet. Connect your members with coaches and professional partners within your association. And develop educational opportunities to address all behaviors. It's really important. Within WSAE, we have created breakout sessions on this. Association of Washington Cities has also done this. Many of the groups I work with at the Convention Center are including this in their agendas. And finally, I just want to say, people will support what they create, so involve them.
Thank you. I know that's a hard one to everyone here, because the diversity has to be talked about, and it's something that you should include in your thing. And while Linda was talking about the diversity of, maybe ethnical or age, but you also have to think about your diversity of the skill level of your people. So making sure that you are not just talking at this level all the time, that you're actually talking at those people that are just starting out, because they're the people that are going to be in your association longer and longer and longer, and they're not retiring out. They're the ones who are going to be here for a while. So you have to keep that that all diversity kind of a thing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about networking. I am a network protocol trainer. I've been for like 20 years. So being a network trainer, I hear this a lot from my clients, because a lot of times when our clients hire us, associations hire us, we then network train their staff members. And what it really is it's just teaching them. It's not teaching them a new trick in the bag of networking. It's teaching them how to network, how to actually engage with people. So one of the sayings that I have is, dogs don't chase parked cars. They don't. So what we do is to keep them moving, and this you can use in your sessions, your conferences, your summits, is to keep them moving. People will follow. If you keep moving, they will follow you. So create a networking environment that doesn't let people sit or park themselves. If you have tables and chairs, they will sit down and they will never move. They'll sit next to the same person, they'll sit next to their friend, and that's it. Never happening again. A lot of times what we do with conferences where they have lunch, they'll have general session and they'll have lunch, and then they'll have another general session, I will make them take all their stuff. I'm like, take all your stuff. And then I'm like, and now this group has to sit back over in that corner. I make them move, and they don't like it. They don't like it. But it makes them network, and it makes them sit next to somebody else that they don't know, and all of a sudden they have, a whole new connection to people. Another way of great networking is have different badges, things on your badges. So you might have, I'm a tax expert, or I'm an audit specialist, if you're like CPAs. Or a twist on new name tags, what we're doing is like a trivia question. Or again, the question of I can give you my favorite, ask me what my favorite vacation is. And then somebody will say, oh, my favorite place to go is the Grand Canyon, or something like that. So it asks them to share their favorite book. It's just trivial, but it puts it on their name badge, and then they go, oh, haven't you ever been to a hotel where it says Anaheim, California, or underneath the person's name, it says it was the city they were born in, and they go, oh, I've never been to Anaheim. And a lot of times they'll go, neither have I was just born there and I left. But, it kind of talks about it, it gives you something to talk about. So consider that for networking. Keep it engaged. When we go to the conference center in Wenatchee, I love using the lobby. I do all my networking in the lobby. I put all my vendors in the lobby. I put my food in the lobby. I put my bar in the lobby. They have to walk through the vendors to get to the bar. So I try and keep it engaging that way. Don't let them sit. He's going to give me a 5-minute. I see him. I see you. So Linda talked about networking outdoors. I think you want to talk about that a little bit?
Real quick, we had a group in-house. It was Britt Kramer with WSIE that used to chair or plan this. Anyway, we took them over to the park. We had a barbecue. We had a beer garden set up that we got permission from the liquor board, of course. And she divided them into their alma mater. We had the Cougars, the Huskies, the Eagles from Central, or Cheney. And they were all divided up into groups. And then we had competitions against each other. Great fun.
Yeah.
It was just outstanding.
Taking people off-site is always fun. People love it. And, it depends on your venue. A lot of these, I think, Visit Tri-Cities is here maybe, I think, or Visit Tacoma. There are all these you just have to go to whatever city you're in, there's always a visit Wenatchee, visit Yakima, visit, Seattle. There's always one. You just have to go to them, and they'll find you a cool off-site space to go to or to do something. And consider, we have used the people downstairs, downstairs, the box ones where they, it's the try and get out of the box, try and get the thing unconnected. We've used the build the bike. We've had all kinds of crazy things I get people doing. So a lot of that. So you have to kind of think outside the box. Top Golf, people will go immediately to Top Golf, even if they don't know how to golf. So we don't have much time. He's already given me my button. So these are the topics that we covered. Again, I know we dumped a lot on you guys. Understanding your audience and making the connection like you guys did earlier. Now you already have a new friend. Registration, first impression, overstaff your registration. Sessions and workshops, consider bringing in a peer, partnered with a vendor, so that vendor sponsors it. Vendors will pay a lot of money to stand up here, won't they? Won't they? She did. Venue selection, the atmosphere, consider museums. I love doing things at the aquariums and all that kind of stuff. Diversity, inclusion. Remember, it's not just, the LGBTQ, but it's also the diversity of the skill level of your attendees. Creative networking, creating team building, things that are outside the box a little bit. The whole thing of don't put chairs. I'm telling you, this is my number one tip. Don't put chairs. Don't put tables. High boys are great. Little cocktail tables. Everyone loves those things. So I know we've been rambling up here. Any questions? Any questions?
We'll be here afterwards if you want to ask questions too.
Here's our information. If you want to take a picture of it, I'm willing to talk to anyone. Yes, ma'am, you can come up here, or I can repeat the question. Because he told me to.
Hi, my name is Liza Lombardi. I'm with Legion AVS. We're an AV company, and we actually just met with an association this morning. And a common theme that I've been having throughout this event the past couple of days with planners and hotel booking groups and stuff is the challenge of AV for associations. Do you guys have anything to share with that on like how to get around, some of those contractual agreements with in-house and we're really seeing it, kind of be a big issue right now.
Yes. In-house is kind of expensive. I'm just, anyone from here venues besides you? Your venue, which venue are you with? Which one? Okay. They have in-house, they have some in-house, you always, the breakouts and stuff. But when you're talking about, like what you're talking about, this, I like to negotiate that I can do it myself. I can hire a subcontractor. And a lot of venues will let you. They will let you subcontract that out. And because what I can usually find is I can get it a lot less expensive. So when we are in Salem, Oregon, I have 3 vendors I go to all the time, and the one that comes from the farthest is the cheapest. And he does an amazing job, and he comes from Wenatchee. So I bring in, I will negotiate that for the associations. They should always ask, can we bring in our in-house or not have in-house? Some venues don't allow it at all, but there's nothing you can do about it. If you're in different states, California, you've got your union issue, so then you've got to be careful of that. They won't let you touch anything. Like they wouldn't let them touch these podiums.
We allow people to bring in their own AV if they choose. Also, it's something, and I think most facilities, this is something that is very negotiable.
Yes.
We can give you a discount or we can give you a flat fee, but ask your facilities for that.
A lot of associations just don't know they can ask. I always say, dream it up and ask it. I got a new client and they had a contract and they were like, we have to use their AV. I go, no, you don't. It says in the contract that it's just their preferred. That doesn't mean I have to use them. And then, you usually have to use their food. But what happens is, yes, I know, I need to wrap it up, what happens is I just say, ask me and I'll just find out for you. Or just ask. And we were able to get, they don't even have to pay that whole huge food and beverage. I negotiated that down for them. You don't have to pay that number. You can bring it down. So
you never get anything unless you ask for it first.
So a good thing for you to tell them is say, ask. Don't assume. Ask. Always ask. Thank you. And if you have any other questions, I'll be out there. So
we'll be here afterwards.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
So before we conclude real quickly,
sorry.
I just want to make a shameless plug. Angela and I are both members of the Washington Society for Associational Excellence. You will get a lot out of this organization. They have the greatest conference in the world. You will learn a lot of new skills, networking opportunities. You'll learn things from your peers. Anyway, I'm going to be at the WSA booth all afternoon. If you have questions, our staff from WSA is there now, so come by and see us.
Yeah. Yep. Great. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.